long time. I've been asked to direct a number of times, but the projects that have come my way I haven't felt simpatico with, so I haven't taken up the opportunity. So I want to direct things that I obviously feel passionate about. And so the spark has been lit, and I'm just going to do it now. I just think life's too short. It's like I don't want to die wondering, so I'm just going to continue.
Awesome. I just want to say congratulations, because that was so beautiful to watch. It was just engaging, and I really wanted to follow those two characters. I really wanted them to kiss, but they didn't. I just kept me engaged. What I want to know is how much of it was actually written down, and how much was just let's go with it?
Virtually none of it was written down. What we did in those 3 days workshop, we came up with the ideas for the characters. I came up with the idea of the premise for the film, and the premise for the film is, this is what I pitched to Rob and Liz, was that two people meet by chance, and then they spend the next 18 hours together. I always wanted to do a film over the course of one night, because I think the night fascinates me. Things can happen in the night that don't happen in the day. You meet people in the night that you don't encounter through the day. Strange things can happen. So I wanted two people meet by chance, they spend a deal of time together, and at the end of that time they've changed in some way, shape or form, and they part. That was the premise of the film. How much was written down? As I say, virtually nothing. But what we did in that 3 days workshop, I put up huge butcher's paper on one whole wall of that room, and we came up with the idea of having 8 beats for a film. And I named 8 different beats to the film that we were going to try and target. We had loose little places and geographical locations I thought that I'd target that could possibly elicit some response, but that's about it. And as we went, we invented narrative, and we responded with, to whatever came our way. And that was actually the best. That was the goal within the film. People like John Leonard, you can't actually write that stuff. The guys in the sex shop, I'd love to say that I could write that dialogue. I can't. And this is one of the reasons I did this film, because it was a response to the way I've worked for 30 years. And I believe that, watching films, I'm always aware of the construct of the film. So I wanted to just try to get away from that, and especially the dialogue. I watch films and I'm always conscious of the script. As an actor, I'm always conscious that no matter how good the performance is of the script. So that was one of the things I was actually trying to just explore, to create an environment that was such that you could totally believe the performances and the actors. And the fact that the actors are actually mixing with real people, and a lot of the people don't know who's real and who's actually an actor, I actually quite like.
Again, as the mic's coming, have you ever in your career worked that way, like purely improvisational in front of the camera?
No, I haven't. It's something I've always wanted to. Sometimes I'm a little bit naughty, and I do actually improvise. Oh, there's one occasion where I was allowed to actually, and I was actually encouraged, and that was a film I did a number of years ago called Getting Square, which I'm I think it's that. And Jonathan actually encouraged me, and there's one particular sequence that he basically just gave me, we had about 10 minutes, and he set up a situation whereby I had an empty space and a chair, and he said I could do whatever I liked, and he just let the camera roll. And that's in the film. And that for me as an actor was just a gift. And so I realised that doing this film, it was giving both Benedict and Emily an opportunity that as an actor, I would have absolutely cherished and relished. And those two certainly did, they loved it.
I just wanted to ask a little bit about your influences. As a viewer, it definitely reminds you of filmmakers like Linklater and Cassavetes, but also in terms of improv performance. I wonder if you trained in improv with anybody like Keith Johnstone or other kind of modes of improv that contributed to the process of the work.
Not really. When I was at drama school, actually, one of the texts at school was actually Keith Johnston's book called Improv, but no training as such. And those Cassavetes, did probably an influence. I suppose more than anything, what it is a response to the way that I've had to work and throughout the last 30 years. And I could see potentially other ways of achieving things. and other doors that aren't normally opened. And I just really wanted to open those doors and peek in and shed a bit of light in there. So that was that. Other influences, there's many really. In terms of the major influences on my life in terms of film is put New Wave into anything, French New Wave, American New Wave, Australian New Wave. They're actually my biggest influences. Yeah, but in terms of this particular film, it was probably my own personal experiences and reactions against that forced this film.
I was wondering if you could elaborate on the movie title, The Chase.
The title?
Yeah.
Okay. This film didn't have a title until basically we finished. It was just had a working title, and we didn't know what the title was. And then late in the process, I went to a parent-teacher night with my 6-year-old daughter. And I was sitting in a little chair about half the size of this in a little classroom. And behind the teacher was a piece of cardboard, and on that piece of cardboard were punctuation marks. There was a question mark, there was an exclamation mark, comma, full stop, and then there were 3 dots, dot, 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 ellipsis. And I see those 3 dots every day in my life, and I use them a lot during my life. I didn't know that was called an ellipsis. And then I thought, I've got the title for the film. Because not only practically the character of Jasper, probably in his little communication at the beginning of the film, may or may not have used the ellipsis, but an ellipsis signifies, in a punctuation form, a suspension of time. And for me, that's what happened to those 2 characters. They meet by accident, by chance, a collision occurs, and there's a suspension of time, whereby their normal lives are put on hold, they're put on pause for those 18 hours until the end when they part, and then the pause is released and they're changed in some way. In the same way that an ellipsis as a punctuation mark does exactly that. It's a pause, it's a suspension of time. Anything's possible after those 3 dots when you use those 3 dots. It could be, it could be a change for the better, change for the worse, but there's a suggestion of change. So that's where the title came from.
Hi, it was a great show. Thank you for that. I was just wondering if those scenes with the mobile phone repairman and his family, what was your motivation for including that on their journey? It seemed like those characters were elaborated a little bit. And, yeah.
Okay, for me, the beginning of the film, we thought about many ways of how these 2 characters can meet, and I thought chance collision is a good one. Could be air. We thought of many different meeting points, but we decided on that. And I like the idea that at an intersection, it could be any 2 characters that collided, and we could have followed any 2 of those lives, but we just happened to follow those 2. The fact that a mobile device was dropped and broken, I really liked. Because, a mobile phone or device now is ubiquitous. Everybody has them, and they contain basically so much information about who we are on that particular device. I like the idea of that device being dropped and smashed, and then literally severed from somebody. So then, for the next however many hours in real time, it gave those 2 people an opportunity to potentially connect on a real level, on a different level. So the phone man, to me, you could nearly say the phone is a metaphor of somebody's life. And so then bringing in the phone man, literally repairing the phone, but also on a higher level, he was possibly doing something else. And I just like that. Whether you go with it or not, it's up to you.
It was a nice change of tone as well, and it's a testament to Marty's editing too. I think it was quite a marked change in tone. It's very nice too.
Yeah, and I've got to credit. When I worked on this film as well. I worked on the little motto that I came up with was "Best Idea Wins." And I didn't care where it came from. It could have come from any of the actors, anybody on the crew, the sound man. If they came up with an idea and it was great, we followed it. The idea of having another storyline was actually Megan Washington's. And then once that came up as well, I thought, well, maybe there's another one. But I just liked the idea of having that particular character. And as I mentioned in the introduction, the idea of having Ferdinand in the film, to me, was like, yeah, I want that guy on screen.
Another question somewhere? Maybe down the front here.
Okay, it's a very simple question, but how did you avoid people running up and saying, "Oh my God, you're David Wenham"? You know, when you're trying to film the streets.
I might just repeat that. Just saying, how did David avoid people recognising him in the street while he's improvising in the street?
Yeah, good point. Because what we did is we made sure our footprint was as small as possible, so we could actually, like the opening shot. That was actually a 3-minute shot that we've actually jump cut a bit. A 3-minute one take shot underneath Queen Victoria building. And in 3 minutes, not one person looked down the barrel of the lens. There was hundreds, if not thousands of people past that camera, and not one person looked down the lens, which is extraordinary. But we couldn't actually have 3 minutes of that shot, I didn't think. Well, it could, it was just a bit excessive. But we made our footprint as small as possible. I always had like a monitor around my neck and whatever, so I did stick out a little bit. But by and large, in my daily life anyhow, I sort of fly under the radar, and I know that might sound strange, but I sort of do. And put a hat on me as well, and in fact I wear put glasses on, and I can get relatively unrecognised.
Well, thank you very much for sticking around. Thank you for coming to Melbourne with your beautiful film, your busy schedule, and please thank David Wenham.